Okay, welcome to this much anticipated by me interview with
And hopefully a few people.
well, I hadn't announced it, but with this interview with Mike Michalowicz for the Freelance Bookkeeper blog. And we are here because of Mike's new book, Clockwork, which is released August 21st. So you're seeing this on the day of release.
Yes.
And if you're not familiar with Mike Michalowicz, why not? He's been a feature on my blog and in my training programs for quite some time. Mike and I met, he says, in 2012, but my consciousness of really us meeting was 2014 after Profit First, when he reached out to me. But I actually was aware of Mike in 2012 and went to go see him in Philly after Pumpkin Plan.
So I remember that Barry Maltz was there hosting the event. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But ever since then, I've had a love affair with Mike. That's
our secret.
What he teaches us is just so important for our businesses and for our clients. So I knew that when Clockwork was coming out, because Mike told me about the concept of this book several years ago, and my thought was, Mike, you have to publish that book several years ago, because I couldn't even sleep the night after he told me about it because I was so excited. So needless to say, when the book is out, I said, Mike, we got to do an interview. So there's the buildup for how excited I am about this. But Mike, for those who, for whatever reason, don't really know about you, you're an author, you've published several books. I mentioned Pumpkin Plan, Profit First. Tell us about this author thing. How did you get to be an author quickly?
Yeah. So I've been an entrepreneur for the entirety of my adult life. But I've been through the ups, I've been really through the downs. I think there's this thing, I call it entrepreneurial poverty. There's this outside perception. Gabrielle, I'm sure the day you decided I'm going to start my own bookkeeping business, that your friends who aren't business owners look at you and go, oh my God, you're now a millionaire. They think you're so wealthy, right? And they think you can dictate your schedule, like, and you work whatever, you don't even work. The reality is ironically the exact opposite. Most entrepreneurs are struggling to survive financially and in other elements. They have no time left. They're struggling to have a balance in life. And I have been through that. I continue to experience that in different elements of my life. So every book I've written, honestly, is really to solve a challenge that I personally face. Yeah. These books, too, are the ultimate accountability mechanism. When I wrote Profit First, when I first wrote about the concept, it was over 10 years ago now in a Wall Street Journal article. The day I wrote that article and I got emails from people who said, oh my gosh, I'm going to use this, I felt this internal accountability. If I don't stick with this myself, I'm a facade, I'm a fake. So I have to live by it. So I was committed to profitability. That book has changed my life, and now I hope it serves others. Profit First. Clockwork, I'm committed to an absolute balance in my life. I think we can, I know we can have it. And now Clockwork is forcing this for me because it's out there. It's my declaration. But that's my selfish reason for being an author. The other component, probably the most important component, is I really want to serve others. I want to pierce that veil of entrepreneurial poverty and allow people to really become profitable, for them to experience the wealth that they deserve and aspire to have, and for them to have balance. That's what this book, Clockwork, is about. I keep looking here because I have my copy. But Clockwork is about bringing back that balance so we can truly live life the way we've defined it.
Yes. Excellent. Well, and I mean, that's why we connect. It's because of the values of walking your talk. Yeah. And the values of really wanting to help others as well. But doing it yourself, solving a problem that you have as an entrepreneur, clearly is a great basis on which to help others, because others are having that issue too. And you kind of answered this question a little bit, but our first question is about, why did you choose to write about Clockwork as your next book? Because you have other books that solve problems, but why Clockwork?
Well, there's been inspiration behind it. First, I am so blessed to get contacted by readers constantly. There's my email. I'm just looking up my email now. I would say every 15 minutes or so, on average, another email come in from a reader that is reading my books, has a question, has an inspirational moment. That's part of it. Part of it is our conversation. I mean, you and I met, I can't remember the location. It was at a conference. I think it was in the Bahamas or Florida or somewhere hot. And my favorite part of these accounting and bookkeeping conferences is when you and I get some time to spend together. And we had breakfast together one morning,
Yep,
just
that's right.
jaw-boning, talking ideas. And what I discovered from our conversation, from reader feedback, is there is a Maslowian hierarchy of needs in business. In our lives, Maslow says, first we need to take care of, oxygen and food and water and then shelter, and you can kind of go up this pyramid of needs. In business, foundationally, I believe every business needs sales. With no sales coming in, that is the oxygen for a business. If you don't have any inbound cash flow, you're in deep trouble. The next level up, which I believe is the substance of food and water, is profit. Sadly, I've discovered most businesses, when they are starving to death, they need food and water, they actually gasp for more air. They try to breathe in by selling more. They say, I'm not profitable, I need to sell more. But gasping for air when you're starving to death is not the solution. So profit first, my objective there was to get businesses to have substance, sustainability. I believe the next up in this Maslowian hierarchy of entrepreneurial needs is time. Once we have sales coming in, adequate sales, once we have sustainable profit and it brings about this confidence, then it becomes about balance, time. We want to be able to do, I believe most of us, what we want to do, both in our personal lives, but also in our business. I don't think the goal necessarily is to say, now my business is an ATM and I want to abandon it. I think it's, now my business is running on automatic. It's generating predictable income, predictable profitability for me. I want to now do what I want within my business, what gives me joy. So Clockwork is about designing a business to run itself so you can do what you want, when you want, both in your life and in your business.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think you're spot on as the progression goes with the business, for sure. That's great. So this book is launching today, August 21st. So it's not the time we're recording, but the time that you're seeing this.
But my heart is racing. Like, this is the moment. Like, we're on the precipice of the launch, and the nerves are very heightened right now. And plus, 3 cups of coffee did not help.
Yes, that's right. Well, that coffee helps. But the people watching this are accountants and bookkeepers, of course. Yeah. That's the world I live in, and that Profit First has been thriving in. But why is it accountants and bookkeepers should be paying attention to Clockwork?
Yeah, so I've had the privilege now to work with hundreds of accountants and bookkeepers through Profit First. Our organization, Profit First Professionals, continues to grow. And what we do is we empower these companies by differentiating themselves with the Profit First brand, transitioning from traditional bookkeeping and accounting to a consultative model around profitability. And the reason is that there's this downward pressure that's occurring for accountants and bookkeepers. The automation, the introduction of artificial intelligence, when I say accountants and bookkeepers have become so commoditized that we need to transition. The other element that's happening for accountants and bookkeepers is the demand on time is actually increasing with business efficiencies, which seems crazy. Like, the more automated stuff is becoming, you think it would require less time from us, but for us to survive, it's actually requiring more of our time. So the response I'm seeing from most accountants and bookkeepers is actually a work harder mentality. For me to sustain my income or grow it, I must work more. But that is a means to no end, because at a certain point we are capped. We can't work any harder. We're exhausted. All we do is we wake up, we crank away on the computer in our basement, and then we don't even see the sunrise or the sunset, and we're exhausted, and we repeat again. I think the community that needs this most are people, industries that are going through transition. Accountants and bookkeepers are going through probably the most massive transition of modern times. So Clockwork is about how do you sustain that income and increase it without you being in the business. Foundationally, you have to change the structure of what you're doing. You have to offer something new and distinct. That's why I hope to do this Profit First. But as importantly, you must have a mentality of an entrepreneur, not a doer. You must have a mentality of someone that is using other resources, other people, and channeling them collectively to have a consistent outcome that drives the business forward. And we ourselves must remove ourselves from doing the work and be designing the business. That's why I think the book will be so impactful for our community of accountants and bookkeepers.
Yes, and I agree. And of course, I view it that like with Profit First, where we say, put it in your business first, see how the results it has, put you in a much better place to support your clients, to help them,
Right.
because the accountant and bookkeeper are close to the business owner who is floundering with these same issues. So if we're walking our talk, then we're in a better position to go to that advisory model and help them. And I think that is absolutely true with something like this and building the systems that you're outlining in Clockwork, because I did get to read an early version of the book.
Yeah, pre-release. Yeah.
Yes. And but one question is, and I've read these other books, this issue of wanting to have the business run without you has been an issue for small business owners for a long time.
Sure.
In fact, even what you just referenced was, getting away from being a doer. We have to think more of ourselves as an entrepreneur. That has a similar ring to what I remember reading many years ago in Michael Gerber's E-Myth Revisited,
Yes.
right? And then now there's so many versions, including one for bookkeepers. But then also several years later, I read the book, which I like this book a lot, which is called Work the System by Sam
Yep.
Carpenter.
I read
If
it
you've
too.
read
Yeah.
that. And that was, to me, that was valuable because he went through it himself in his
Yep.
own business, truly. So my question to you, Mike, and this is the tough question, is so yeah, you're gone through this kind of, sort of, but Clockwork, what makes it any different from those other books, and especially at this time?
Yeah, great question. And I'm a huge fan of E-Myth. That book was an eye-opener for me. And I've had the privilege now of sharing the stage with Michael Gerber. I'll never forget one event. We both presented in Mexico.
Yes.
We keynoted back-to-back. We ended up having dinner together. And Michael is a notably eccentric guy.
Yes.
So I won't use the verbiage he used. I said, E-Myth is one of my favorite books of all time. And it probably will remain that way for eternity. I said, one of the challenges that I faced was that the core concept is don't work in your business, work on your business. The perception was that one day I will not be working in my business as a technician. I will be the definition of a true entrepreneur. I'll be working on my business, but it's a one-day thing. It's a switch.
Right.
I said, I think that's where I get stuck. I'm waiting for the moment for it to present itself. I said, I think it's not a switch, Michael. I think it's a throttle. He responded with very flowery words, and then which is funny because I thought he was joking, but I don't know if he was because he's an eccentric. And we had a marvelous dinner together, and we then discussed this concept. I believe what I propose in Clockwork is that it's a throttle. We have to slowly transition, but persistently, to a design phase where we are strategically moving the business toward a vision as opposed to doing the work in the business, right?
Yes.
There's an analogy, and I believe actually in Sam Carpenter's book it says this, in many of the books, and entrepreneurs use this terminology too, we see our business as a parent-child relationship. I think this is going to be the big distinguisher of Clockwork. What we say is, I'm the parent, I've birthed the business,
Right.
I'm growing this business, and one day it's going to have legs, and that's when it's going to have the returns for me. I need to nurture it, I need to feed it, but one day it'll be sustainable on its own. And that's the concept I challenge. I do not believe we have a parent-child relationship with our business. What I believe we have is a conjoined twins relationship. We share common organs, the same legs. As the business health goes, so does our health. As our health goes, so does the business health. It is that conjoined. We need to separate ourselves in a very surgical, disciplined process. You don't just one day say, you know what, we're splitting the two. It would kill both. We need to very carefully separate the organs and so forth. At a certain point, over time, we can surgically separate ourselves, and we will have separate hearts, we'll have separate organs. We will always share a common soul, but that is when the business is now running itself. So Clockwork walks you through the surgical process of slowly but persistently separating yourself from your conjoined twin, and now the business can flourish on its own by running on automatic. I think that's the key differentiator from all these other phenomenal books.
Yes. Yes. Very good. Very good. That's very helpful. Actually, it makes me almost think like it's like we're cloning ourselves in a certain sense, and then with that clone has to be independent.
Yeah. The founder of Intuit, Scott Cook, is that his name? Mm-hmm. I remember him on stage, and that was another aha moment for me. I said, here's the guy who founded it. Intuit has grown explosively, but what's his participation?
Yeah.
It is simply vision and guidance. He has become more of a idol for the company and a rally point than anything else. And I think that's what's truly extraordinary. Intuit lives on because of his soul. if I look at Amazon, it it would be laughable to think that Jeff Bezos is packaging that shipment we just ordered and sending out the door. That's true for every successful business. And these big companies, I like to use their name because we recognize the names, but I also want to realize that us tomorrow to be the next Amazon is not going to happen. They too went through this growing process in the separation. You can bet your bottom dollar the first shipment that went out from Amazon, Jeff Bezos was in his garage. Right. He was packaging it. He slowly and systematically removed himself from the business while maintaining that visionary position. We need to do the same thing. It is a methodical process where we keep our soul in the business, but at the same time extract ourselves from the business.
Yes, excellent. And that's one thing I love about the book is because it is methodical. In fact, you take the reader through 7 steps, and the big promise is, which I think is pretty incredible, and I haven't seen in any of the other books, is that you're promising you can, as the business owner, if you follow through these steps and execute it, you can take 4 weeks vacation, unplugged completely away from the business, and it will run without you.
Yeah. And I would argue even more than can, you have to. Here's the best case study. And my favorite case study in the book is Cindy Thomason, who is a bookkeeper, who removed herself from her business for 4 weeks. Literally, she returned from her 4-week vacation 2.5 weeks ago from us recording this.
Yes.
She went to Hawaii. There is a post. It's in the Profit First Professionals group because she's also a Profit First professional now. She posted in there her experience. I don't know if you saw this.
Yes, I did. Okay.
There's a picture of her and this beautiful cloud coverage coming up in Hawaii, and she explained what she experienced. Here's why I think we need to declare a 4-week vacation first. And I suggest everyone watching this, if you want to make a bold move toward removing yourself from the business and having your business run on itself, declare a 4-week vacation, not for tomorrow, but for 1.5 years, maybe 2 years from now. The day you make this declaration, there's a mind shift. It's like, oh my gosh, my business has to run without me. What happens now is we start going into this design mode. We say, well, how do I get other people or resources? Even if you're a solo practitioner, you can and have to do this. How do you get contractors or part-timers or systems in place to get the business running on automatic? Then over time, as you get closer to it, we run test mechanisms. Cindy went away for a couple weeks, full disconnect, by the way, no email, no nothing, came back, and was it perfect? No. Was there problems? Absolutely. Did she lose clients? No. Were some clients upset that certain things slipped? Yeah, and those are the things that she fixed. She went on another 2-week vacation, test again, and got better. She then subsequently went away for 4 weeks in Hawaii. And by the way, you don't have to have some grand vacation. You could go to your mother-in-law's for 4 weeks, which may be like going to hell for some people, but go away for 4 weeks. And what happened was the business thrived. Cindy's business actually acquired new clientele. They increased pricing on 2 clients, and the employees, and she's a small team, I think it's 4 people, they huddled together and they said, we own this now. They took the ownership. I think the greatest thing was a shift in Cindy's mindset. Week 1 was panic. Like, how are they going to survive without me? Am I really prepared? Week 2 was almost kind of giving into it, saying, well, I'm away now. I'm halfway through this. Week 3 was a new discovery of herself. She said, maybe I don't want to work in the business. Maybe I'm getting joy elsewhere. And week 4 was this confidence, saying there's a new me now. I am now thinking strategically about my business and how it can change the world and thinking much bigger. She returned to the office. The business had grown. There was still some challenge that she needs to fix. But now every month, she's taking 1 week off, total disconnect from the office. And the employees have never felt so empowered. They've never been so excited because they're in charge now. They're in control. There's been this mind shift. And just to put some numbers on this, and Cindy's very proud of this, I'm very proud of this. Before going through this process, before I even knew her, her business was doing about $25,000 to $30,000 in annual revenue after being a bookkeeper for 10 years. This year, she surpassed $500,000 in revenue. We're halfway through the year. The trajectory is over $500,000. Cash collections are not there yet, but it's very clear it'll surpass that. And next year, she's confident she's going to surpass $1 million in revenue. Wow. And I think all indicators are that. That's been in a 3.5 year span that's become a reality. The point here is you don't need to change so much in your business. We just need to change your mind, and the impact happens when we change what's going on up here.
Yes. Everything is between the ears.
so like it's uncanny.
Yeah, it is. But the thing about Clockwork that I love is that it is, look, here's the exercises to do. Here are the things that concrete action to take. It is not theory. It is not something that all businesses, including bookkeepers, proven with Cindy, can't apply to their practice or to their business. So I'm so excited.
And I think that's necessary. I am not a theory kind of guy. I'm all about action. And everything that's in this book is something I first tested myself. I think that's what distinguishes me, because I still run businesses, that I have a guinea pig. So Clockwork, I started writing 6 years ago. As I was writing, I started testing stuff out. And a lot of stuff did not work. Therefore, not in the book. Some of the stuff did work. And then I tested with friends. So Cindy started experiencing this a year and a half ago. We started testing on her, tested with other companies. And only once it was proven to work in my own business, other businesses, and there was examples of existing businesses who've been doing this stuff for decades, then it got included in the book.
That's great. What, can I ask a quick question on that? What would be, it was 18 months like a typical amount of time that you could go from totally being consumed by the business to the point of working on it? I mean, I realize every business is different, but since you've seen several, what would you say is a believable, doable amount of time to expect?
Yeah, the 18 months, which a year and a half seems to be the number. And that's why the plan in there's an 18-month plan. Here's what happens. I find that when people declare they're going to go into this, that's not enough. Saying, I'm going to start working on my business, as Michael Gerber said. We say this, but the next morning we're back to our routine.
Yes.
When there is something that is very rapidly approaching, there becomes this pressure. When we were testing like 2 or 3 years out, there was not enough pressure. When we said, let's try this 6 months from now, it became exhaustive. It was a panic. It seemed for most businesses a year and a half out was far enough out that we go through 1 year's full cycle of a business plus another 6 months of preparation. We could then test certain things. Some businesses are seasonal. If you're an accountant bookkeeper, I suspect February is a little more busy than August. I just have a suspicion. February, March, December, January.
Actually, yeah, December through March.
Yeah, December through March, right, is a little bit more intense than August and September. So therefore, we want the business to experience an entirety of a year with you still being accessible to it, but thinking in this design mode. So that 18 months out seems to be the perfect number. The other part, though, is it has to be a hard commitment. It's easy to say, well, 18 months from now, I'm going to take off from my business. If it's not in the books, so to speak, if there's not people holding you accountable, if you haven't told your contractors or part-timers or virtual assistant, or if you have your employees, it's unrealistic it's going to happen, because we'll play that game, well, maybe I need to wait on this. So it has to be a declarative, but 18 months out seems to be the number.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Mike, then that means that everybody who's watching this, if this is what you want, if you really want your business to work like clockwork, you got to go get the book. Today's the day to do it. And make your declaration that 18 months from now is when you're going to be going on vacation, unplugged from your business, knowing that it's going to be running just fine without you.
Yeah, and I will tell you this. What I discovered is after you go on this vacation, there's a new level of awareness, I think, for you. And I don't know if you're going to say, I never want to work again. I don't know if you're going to say, I love working so much, all I want to do is go back to just working like I have been. I do know whatever answer that comes is the right answer. There's no wrong answer. Right. But until you put yourself in that position where you have that choice, then you don't have an answer. When you are forced to work because that's the only way to sustain, there is no choice. But when you have the freedom to participate in the way you want to, that is where all that stress melts away. And that's the goal of Clockwork, is truly, at the end of the day, to give you the freedom of choice.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Mike, so much. This was fantastic, and I'm really excited about it. I already have ideas, but I won't tease everybody too badly, but I want to continue this conversation about Clockwork, and actually doing it, not just talking about it. So thank you once again, Mike, and we'll look forward to when we can connect again.
Next event, we're grabbing breakfast.
Okay. We got a plan on that. Thanks.